Well, hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the series. If you're new here, my name is Callie and I am creating a series where I'm building a junk journal Psalter. If you're not sure what that is, go back and watch just even the last video. Now, I have a playlist that I will put right here, and you can go check that out and see how we've gotten to this point. In today's video, you're going to see how we get our text block all sewn together like this and attached to our floating spine. Now, in the video, you're going to see where I actually made a mistake in making my little template, which I'll explain. I make a mistake and I don't even really have to fix it. It ends up working out just fine. And so that was kind of one problem I had. I made a little mistake. I don't make junk journals, you know, every 3 days or whatever. And so in between times you tend to forget the little details. And so anyways, you'll see how it all works out in the end. But then the second problem that I had was the data file that I had for actually how to make the template was corrupted. And so I thought, well, this is an opportunity to go back. I'll show you how to make the template correctly. And then you'll see in the video how I end up using it. You'll see where, okay, I realize I make this mistake, but then you'll see that it works out. So that's kind of how this is going to go. And our end result is going to be that we have our floating spine all attached. Everything looks great. And so that's what we're going to do today. Okay, so to get our floating spine, first thing we need to know is how wide does it need to be. So we're going to take our spine, and if you've seen the previous videos, you know that this piece of chipboard here that creates our outer spine, this width was 2 3/4 inches. And so hopefully you can see that little measurement there. Now, that gives us sort of this outside measurement. And so we want this floating spine to be about 2.5, if you can see that. Okay, so what we're going to do to make things simple, we're going to make a little template. And what this template is going to be used for, it's going to be used to poke our holes into our floating spine, which would be these holes here. And it's going to be what we use to put our holes into our signatures. If I can find one here, we have holes here in our signature. We're going to use one template to rule them all so that we get everything being the same distance, the same spacing, everything will match up. Now, I learned this template method from Nick the Booksmith. If you haven't seen her videos, she's really great. She really knows what she's doing with bookbinding, and she's extremely meticulous. I highly recommend her. Now, as I said, I made a mistake in the first one, but now I'm going to show you the correct way that this needs to be done. So, for my book, I want to create this to be 2.5 inches, and then for this internal little for this internal spine, I want it to be just a little bit shorter than my signatures. If you can see that. I want that to be just a little bit shorter at either end than my signatures. And so this piece, this actual floating spine, will be cut at 9 inches. Now, my signatures measure 9 1/4. I don't know if you can see the numbers on that. Trust me, it's 9 1/4. Now, the mistake that I made in this template is that I cut it the same size as my spine, as my internal spine. And so this is only 9 inches long. And what I really need is the same length as my signatures. You can see that it's just a little bit too short. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a little template. It's going to be 2.5 inches wide. So I'm going to place this down on my mat where I can keep everything really square. And of course this is 8.5 by 11 copy paper. In this case I use just a little bit heavier paper. It just holds up a little bit better, but you can use a scrap of paper as long as it's big enough. Any scrap of paper would be just fine for this little template that we need. So we're going to cut it 2.5 inches wide. Okay. And then here's the mistake I made. I made it only 9 inches long. So now with this one, we're going to line it up right here on the edge of my mat, keeping everything square. And we're going to make it the same size as my signatures. Same length as my signatures. There we go. On each end of this thing, and we're going to put a mark at a 1/2 inch. And then at the bottom, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put a mark at a 1/2 inch. And now, we're going to draw a line right here. This is going to keep everything level. Whoops. Okay. And then at this end, same thing. Alright, so we got a 1/2 inch here and a 1/2 inch here. Now, you can measure from this line and this line and find the middle if you want, but you don't have to. You can pick any midpoint. I'm going to eyeball it and say about right there looks to be the middle. We just want to make sure that this line is level. And by that I mean it's perpendicular to this edge. We want it to be straight across. Okay, now this one doesn't have to be a particular measurement, but it does need to be level. So now we're going to take one end and we're going to write a T right here. That means top. We're going to really have to pay attention to that as we progress. But now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to measure across. We're measuring along our line. Okay, this one, in your case, it might be different if your spine is a different width, but in my case, it's 2.5 inches. And so we need to find the middle, which is going to be 1 1/4 inches. And so at 1 1/4 inches, we're going to put a dot on that line. Then we're going to come down and we're going to find the middle on this one, 1.25 inches right here. And then on this top one, I can't see all the way over there, 1.25 inches. Okay, so that gives us the very middle going this way. Now, here's where you can also eyeball it, or you can measure it out, either way. Now, I have 9 signatures. At each one of these dots that we're going to put on this template is going to be where a signature is going to be sewn in. And so what we want to do, I have 9 signatures, so this is going to be the middle one. I need 4 on either side. Now, this is another thing that you can just eyeball it. And I typically do a sort of okay job doing this. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I don't want it too close to the edge because we're going to sew the signature in here and we don't want it to rip out on the side there. But we want to try to space them evenly. So then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. Now we're going to do the same thing on these. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now we have 3 lines. Maybe you can see that holding it sideways. We've got our 3 lines, 1, 2, and 3, and then each line has 9 dots on it for each signature. And so you can see how this is going to work. Okay, now you're going to take this template and you're going to, after you create your internal spine, which I'll show you in a minute, then you're going to attach this to the spine. I prefer to clip it to it, and because it's supposed to be longer than your internal spine, it's best to clip it on the sides just to stabilize it, and then you're going to punch holes. So that's the correct way to make this template. And so now I will go ahead and show you the rest of the video where we actually carry this out. As I said, you'll see the mistake that I make, and then you'll see that it works out just fine. So enjoy the video. Okay, now I have this thing. It's just a piece of scrap poster board that was being obstinate. But anyways, I cut it to 2.5 inches wide. Okay, here we go. That was in my scrap stash. It's a little wrinkly, but that's okay. This doesn't need to be perfect, but we want it to overhang everything. So we're going to kind of make a straight-ish edge here. About like that. Okay, now we're going to go about 2 inches. Again, this does not have to be exact. About like that. I'm just going to cut it from here. This is not how you would cut fabric sewing. Kind of making myself cringe here a little bit. So, now we want to glue this to the fabric, right in the middle, just like that. Now for this, I'm going to use Fabrifix. It is a fabric glue. I do like it for a lot of things, but they're the sort of finer stuff I like, the art glitter glue. But what I'm going to do is put down a pretty good layer of this and then smear it around a little bit. I don't want a lot of glue showing through, but then at the same time, it doesn't matter a ton because this is going to be basically, all of this is going to be hidden by the signatures. Okay. Alright, as you can see, by knocking that glue down a little bit just with my finger, just really quick, it does keep it from seeping through as bad. See how it's not doing it on this side, but on this side it does kind of seep through. So that's Fabrifix. It's good though. It's such a good glue. I really like it. Alright, so now in case you're wondering, if you've never seen this done before, you're probably like, what in the heck is she doing? This makes no sense. Okay, this little sheet that we cut before is going to be a little template. We're going to poke holes in this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to poke holes in this. We're going to use the template to poke the holes. Then we're going to take the same template and we're going to use this template in each of the signature to poke holes so that all of our holes line up. And then, you're like, that still doesn't answer my question. Then what we're going to do is, once we have holes in this and holes in the backs of all of the signatures, we will sew this to the creases in the signatures like this. And then this whole thing with the signatures in it will get glued right here. Just like that. If you remember from the beginning when I was showing you, it's these papers being glued onto the book board that actually holds the text block on. Well, now it's going to be this fabric that holds the text block on. And what that's going to give us is the same kind of thing where we have a floating spine. And then of course once I cover this, it's not, going to be duct tape. Once I cover this with my pink suede, and this goes down on top of it, it'll show pink suede there, and then it'll show a little strip of green right there, and my signatures will attach right in there just like that, with the signatures sewn in onto that board just like that. And then we glue all of this fabric down to the book board on either side. And then we're going to cover that with end sheets so that you don't see this fabric. So the next step is to start making holes in our little template here. Now the question is, do I want to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch? That's kind of what I'm thinking. Probably be better off to do 5. I'll just do 3. Top to top. Otherwise your top becomes your bottom. Nobody wants their top to become their bottom. Anyways, we have all of our holes are punched now, and both in our template and in, that's the top, and our actual spine. And so now we're going to set this aside, and then we're going to take this template, we're going to use this in a minute, we're going to take this template and we're going to fold it right here on the middle hole, because we're going to use this hole to put holes in our signatures. So we're going to fold this. It should be exactly in half. Okay. Doesn't have to be a real sharp crease, but just folded so that it'll lay in the signature really well. Okay, and now, if you have a big book that you've stolen the book board off of, it's very handy if you don't have like a little cradle thing. Okay, so I've got this text block here. I really just want this sort of like gully here. It's very helpful to have that. And then I've put all my signatures in the order that I want them. I've already checked them to make sure that nothing is upside down. It's very easy if you have directional stuff and you've been shifting papers around to end up with something that's directional inside where it's not obvious to have it be upside down. And so you want to double check that. So now the next step, I'm going to open up this signature. As you can see, I added some little things I wanted in there. I'm going to open the signature to the very middle. And I've also checked all my signatures. Some of them have pages that are shorter than this full length here. And so do you want them adjusted down? Do you want them more in the middle? Do you want them up high? We need to make sure that they're either that they're catching at least 2 of the holes, and that they're not like right on the edge of where the holes are going to be, with the exception of the doilies. If you put the doilies in and they catch 1 hole, that's okay. So now I'm going to kind of put this down in this gully of the book here, and then I'm going to take my template with the top at the top, and I'm going to put this down in here. Right in the middle, and then I'm going to poke my holes right through the crease in each signature. So there's one. And I'll say I kind of made a mistake here with the template. The template needs to be not the size of your spine, because your spine is probably going to be shorter than your signatures. Your template needs to be the same size as your signatures. Otherwise you're eyeballing it, which is okay. It's not that big a deal. I've got these paper clipped. And we need to take the paper clips out whenever we're doing this so that everything falls into place naturally. Okay, we're eyeballing it because I did the template wrong. Try to get it really in the middle. What this is going to cause is my signatures will not all be real level. that's okay. It's not going to make that much difference. It's not going to be off by that much. I might not be the best at doing the template exactly perfect, but I'm pretty good at eyeballing it. So we'll see about that, won't we? Okay, I've got all my signature holes punched, and now I'm going to show you the difference that it makes with the template mistake. We'll see how close I am to eyeballing it. Not bad, not bad. You want the holes to all line up exactly so that the edges of your signatures will all line up exactly. And they're pretty darn close. I already kind of put these signatures in the order that I want them in the finished product here. Now the next step is going to be to sew all of these signatures onto our spine. And we're going to use a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, and I'll show you what that is. There's tons of YouTube videos about it. Now, for the thread, I have some of this. You could use just about anything. Probably the right thing to use is like waxed bookbinding thread or cord, whatever it is. I don't have any. I pick this up like at Walmart or wherever. And then the other thing you can just use is embroidery floss. The cool thing about embroidery floss is you've got a million different color options. And I know that this isn't enough to do all 9 of these signatures, and so I'm going to end up doing some with embroidery floss. And maybe what I'll do is do every other one with this. And so we'll see how that goes. But basically what you want to do is we're going to start with the first signature first. And then we're going to take, not a humongous needle because I don't want to make bigger holes, but a pretty darn big needle. It sounds like a Whoville size, a heck of a rush, and a pretty darn big needle. So then we're going to go, I always like to leave a little extra room, so we're going to go 1, 2, and about a half. And then we're just going to thread this through. We're not going to tie it or anything or double it. Just going to thread it through so it hopefully doesn't fall out. And then we're going to take a binder clip and put it on the end so that it won't fall off. And then, where did that come from? That's weird. And then, open up to the middle of the signature, and then we're going to take and go in the middle hole here. And then on your spine, making sure we've got the top at the top, we're going to go in the first hole here in the middle through this way. And then we're going to go, you can do it either way, to the top or the bottom. We're going to go to the first hole at the top. And then we're going to go into the signature at the top. This process is probably the fiddliest part of making a junk journal. It's a little bit anxiety inducing. But just take your time. So then we're going to come all the way down to the bottom. Come out from the bottom. And then we go back into the spine in the first hole. Just like that. Then we're going to go into the middle where we started and into the signature, which is sometimes a bit of a challenge to Okay, now we're coming out the middle. Okay, now this is super critical right here. Need to make sure that you have one tail on one side of this string and the other tail on the other side. Now I'm going to even this up. And then we're going to make sure we have one on each side. And we want to pull it fairly tight. Make sure that we don't have any slack, that these are nice and tight, but not so much that it puckers. And then we tie this in a knot. Or I mean, however you want. I leave those. And that is the first signature. So then we're going to do the second one here, the third one, and we're going to sew them all on until we have them all on our little spine that looks really rinky-dink right now, but this is going to get better, I promise. And so I won't bore you with the sewing of the signatures, but that's basically how you do it. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm sewing in the last signature here. I wanted to show you guys a few things. This took me about 30 minutes to sew them all in. One more. Okay. This is good and tight. Yeah, I think so. There we go. All right, now that is the finished spine there. Now, never minding the blue poster board, that's a really pretty color combination, and you'll notice that I didn't exactly go in order. but I kind of had a reason for that, and it's also something I wanted to show you. Which one is it? This one. This is the one that had the hinged fabric in the middle. So I chose green so that it would kind of contrast. And you can see that that works out just fine using the fabric in there. Hopefully you can see that. Focus, little camera. So that is the signature with the fabric. And so this is what we're this is what we're after. And you notice like the signature tops stick up just a little bit past the spine, and that's kind of what I want. And then the same is true on the bottom. And I have that one that's just a little bit uneven because of my hole punching situation. And so now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to add just a little bit of lace as a headband. And then I figure I'll add that actually top and bottom. It looks really pretty. And then we'll talk about the next steps. Okay, I chose some lace here and I trimmed this side to fit. That'll be about right. I've just got a binder clip kind of holding it so I can stand it up like this. It's a little wonky, but that's just the binder clip. Then I'm going to use just a little bit of Fabrifix here. Put a little bead of that right there. Okay, and then I just want that to stick up a little bit past my signatures. There we go. Okay, we'll give that a few minutes to dry. That one's already dry, the top one. Well, that's going to be it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments if you have any ideas or thoughts on this journal, and let me know what you guys are working on and what you're doing. And until next time, be blessed, and we'll be talking to you.